Michael Jackson.
Once upon a time, the Grammys were the pinnacle of musical achievement. They were the gold standard, the ultimate recognition of musical excellence. But as the years went by, something changed. Were they still a true measure of artistic greatness, or had they become nothing more than a hollow industry spectacle? Winning one meant you were a legend. Your name was carved into the Mount Rushmore of music. Metaphorically, of course, because, actual Mount Rushmore is reserved for old guys who never dropped a platinum album. And now, well, let's just say, getting a Grammy today is like winning Employee of the Month at a company that's about to go bankrupt. It's a nice gesture, sure, but in today's industry, does it still hold weight? Remember when people used to throw Grammy watching parties? Friends would gather around the TV, placing bets on who would win Album of the Year, gasping at surprise wins, and standing in awe of live performances that instantly became iconic. It was an event, a moment that brought music lovers together.
Won't you look at me?
Now, people barely remember to tune in. The only reason anyone talks about the Grammys anymore is to complain about how bad they've gotten. So that raises the real question. Are the Grammys still relevant? The Grammys weren't always a glorified industry backpatting session. Back in the day, when people actually bought albums and MTV played music, winning a Grammy wasn't just a trophy on the shelf. It was a stamp of cultural significance, a validation of artistry, talent, and sometimes even innovation. Names like the Beatles, Stevie Wonder, Madonna, and U2 dominated the ceremony. And guess what? They actually deserved it. The performances, iconic. The speeches, unforgettable. The winners, chosen for their artistic brilliance, not because of industry politics. Back then, the Grammys weren't just an industry event. They were a reflection of music history in the making. The winners weren't determined by shadowy committees with hidden agendas. They were actual artists, celebrated for their contribution to culture. It wasn't about politics. It was about leaving a lasting mark. That's why when you look at Grammy winners from past decades, you see albums that didn't just top charts, they shaped generations. Thriller, Purple Rain, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. These weren't just records, they were revolutions. And let's talk about the performances. There was a time when Grammy performances weren't just promotional gimmicks for the latest single. They were legendary moments in music history. Prince delivering one of the most electrifying sets ever. Whitney Houston's voice sending chills through an entire generation. Michael Jackson redefining what it meant to own the stage. These weren't just artists performing, they were cultural titans, setting new standards for excellence. It wasn't just about who won, it was about the experience. There was a sense of prestige, of grandeur. Winning a Grammy didn't just mean you had the best album of the year. It meant your music had staying power. It resonated. It shaped the sound of its time and influenced the artists who came after. But then, the cracks started to show. Small things at first, like the time Jethro Tull, a flute-playing progressive rock band, won Best Hard Rock Metal Performance over Metallica in 1989.
And the winner is Crest of a Knave, Jethro Tull.
Imagine losing to a guy playing a flute while wearing medieval tights. Even Metallica was confused. And sure, we laughed it off. Oh, the Grammys, what a goofy little mistake. But then it kept happening. Suddenly, deserving artists were snubbed left and right. Radiohead, no album of the year. Beyoncé, lost to Beck. Groundbreaking records got ignored, while predictable crowd pleasers got the trophies. It was no longer just a few weird one-off mistakes, it was becoming a pattern. The most bold, culture-shifting albums were being ignored in favor of safe, industry-friendly choices. Instead of awarding the boldest, they rewarded the blandest. Albums that pushed boundaries and redefined genres were consistently overlooked in favor of artists who fit the industry mold a little too perfectly. It's almost like the Grammys weren't about rewarding the best anymore, but about maintaining a certain status quo. And that's when we realized, maybe the Grammys don't actually know what they're doing. Maybe they never did. And maybe, just maybe, they don't even listen to music. Think about it. The people deciding these awards aren't fans. They're not the people who stayed up all night replaying an album because it spoke to their soul. They're industry executives and anonymous committee members who operate in secrecy. Take, for example, the 2021 Grammys, where The Weeknd, after having one of the biggest albums of the year with After Hours and a song that dominated global charts, was completely snubbed. No nominations, nothing. Fans were outraged, but insiders weren't surprised. Why? Because it had nothing to do with merit and everything to do with industry politics. That's the real problem. The Grammys have become a closed-door club, rewarding those who play their game rather than those who actually shape music culture. They're people who view music as a business first, art second. Let's take a moment to analyze the psychology behind this. People want validation. Fans want to see their favorite artist rewarded because it confirms their taste in music. When an album wins, it feels like a win for the fans too. But when an obviously deserving artist is snubbed, it creates frustration, even anger. That's why the outrage over Grammy snubs isn't just casual disappointment, it's personal. It's why every year Twitter explodes with fans venting about how the Grammys got it wrong yet again. And let's not forget about the infamous snubs, the kind that made fans question if the Grammys were even paying attention to music at all. Remember when Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, M.A.A.D. City lost to Macklemore? Even Macklemore himself texted Kendrick to say he didn't deserve it. Or how about when Lemonade lost to Adele's 25? Even Adele, in her acceptance speech, basically admitted that Beyoncé should have won.
The Lemonade album was just so monumental, Beyoncé. It was so monumental.
These weren't just minor upsets. These were moments where it became painfully obvious that the Grammys were completely out of touch with music culture, and it only got worse from there. Artists started speaking out. The Weeknd refused to submit his music. Drake publicly mocked the Grammys while holding a Grammy in his hand. Frank Ocean opted out entirely, calling the whole thing irrelevant. When some of the biggest names in the industry openly declare that the Grammys are meaningless, you know there's a problem. Fans caught on too. The award show that once felt prestigious started to feel rigged. Instead of celebrating artistry, it became about who played the industry game best. It became predictable, manufactured, boring. Even the performances lost their magic. What used to be groundbreaking live shows turned into bland, forgettable acts. Instead of artists pushing creative boundaries, we got formulaic performances designed more for social media buzz than actual musical impact. It became clear. The Grammys were no longer about the music, but about manufacturing viral moments. They weren't trying to be the most important night in music anymore. They were trying to be the most trending night on Twitter, and that's exactly why people stopped caring. The artists don't trust it, the fans don't trust it. Even the presenters look like they're forcing themselves to act excited. Once upon a time, winning a Grammy meant your music had truly left a mark on the world. Now, it just means you played the industry game well enough to get a trophy. And that's why year after year, fewer and fewer people bother to watch. The Grammys didn't just lose their prestige, they lost their soul. If you had to pinpoint the exact moment the Grammys went from prestigious to a joke, it would depend on how much disappointment you can handle. Macklemore over Kendrick, The Weeknd erased, Kanye using his Grammy as a urinal. Pick your disaster. Even Macklemore knew he shouldn't have won. When the winner himself has to text the loser to apologize, something's seriously wrong. That's like getting an Oscar for Best Actor and immediately asking the Academy if they meant to give it to someone else. That's like winning the lottery and immediately asking for a refund. But nothing screamed, we don't actually care about music, more than The Weeknd's 2021 snub. Blinding Lights was literally the biggest Billboard hit ever. The Grammys, they acted like it didn't exist. The industry wasn't just out of touch, it was actively ignoring the biggest artist on the planet. People started to put the pieces together. The Grammys weren't about artistic achievement. They were about industry politics, backroom deals, and rewarding the right people, whatever that meant. Take, for example, how artists like Nicki Minaj and Zayn Malik have openly called out the Academy for its shady selection process. Fans noticed how certain artists, despite dominating charts and critical acclaim, were consistently overlooked while industry favorites continued to collect trophies.
It's been many, many years.
By this point, the credibility was long gone. In its place was a broken system desperately trying to convince people it still mattered. So, what happens when an award show loses its credibility? People stop caring. And boy, have people stopped caring. Ratings? In free fall. The 2021 Grammys had the lowest viewership in history. Social media engagement, mostly just people roasting their terrible choices. Artists, More and more of them are boycotting the show entirely. It's not just the artists who've checked out, fans have too. The Grammys used to be an event. People would actually watch to see who won. Now, the only thing trending about the Grammys is how bad they are. The memes get more engagement than the winners. When your biggest viral moment is a meme about how irrelevant you've become, you've already lost. And then there's the performances. Remember when Grammy performances were legendary? Now they feel like corporate ads wrapped in auto-tuned mediocrity. Instead of thrilling live moments, we get bland, overproduced performances that feel more like TikTok promos than musical artistry. Memes and viral culture have done more to dismantle the Grammys than any boycott ever could. Remember the #Scammies hashtag trending on Twitter? Fans have turned Grammy snubs into running jokes, with viral posts comparing deserving artists to the industry's chosen ones. A single meme about how out of touch the Grammys are gets more engagement than the actual winners.
Justin Timberlake. Ha! It actually goes to Nelly.
When your award show is more famous for its failures than its successes, you've failed. So, is there any hope? Can the Grammys be saved? The short answer, probably not. They've dug themselves into a hole so deep that even Beyoncé performing a live rescue mission wouldn't be enough to pull them out. The trust is gone, and once you lose credibility, it's almost impossible to get it back. Could they reform? Sure. More transparency, actual fan involvement, removing the shady secret committees, those things might help. But at this point, does anyone even want to save the Grammys? Music has outgrown them. Artists don't need a golden trophy to validate their success anymore. Fans decide what's great, not an out-of-touch panel of industry insiders. Maybe, instead of trying to fix the Grammys, we should just accept what they've become, an outdated institution desperately clinging to relevance. Other award shows, like the Brits and Billboard Music Awards, have adapted by incorporating fan votes or streaming data, making them feel more reflective of modern music culture. Meanwhile, the Grammys still act like they're the only game in town, oblivious to the fact that artists and fans have moved on.
Billie Eilish. Well done, Billie. Peace and love.
And now, in a last-ditch effort to stay relevant, the Grammys are moving to ABC and Disney Plus in 2025, because nothing screams cutting-edge music authority like the same company that owns Mickey Mouse. So congratulations to the next batch of Grammy winners.
Thank you.
Enjoy your trophy. Just don't be surprised when no one remembers who won a week later. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Grammys' downfall, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the absurdities of pop culture. And hey, unlike the Grammys, your support actually matters.
All right, salute. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all.